So the factors that affect how fast a wildfire burns in order are the wind, how strong the wind is, how dry the vegetation is, and how steep the hillside is or the slope is. So wind is the most dominant driver of fire behavior, and we've seen here in Sonoma County in the 2017 fires, the 2019 fires, and a little bit with the lightning fires in 2020, and also the glass fire in 2020, that wind is the most dominant driver of fire behavior. Our catastrophic winds here are the winds that come from the north or the east, and generally they affect all other counties as well. Second then is how dry the vegetation is. So when things are really dry, think about late in the summer, early fall, our drought years, the vegetation, the grass, the large logs, they're more available to burn. And so that then creates how fast a fire burns, because it can burn those drier vegetation more quickly. And then the third variable is how steep a slope is. When you have a fire on a hillside, the flames, the heat from the fire, are preheating or igniting the vegetation on the uphill side, so it allows better heat transfer and better fire spread. Essentially the same thing that wind does when wind bends a flame back over on itself or back towards the ground. So what drives fire behavior, drives fire intensity, what drives fire spread is better heat transfer. Heating the adjacent unburned vegetation so it's closer to ignition and then burn, or to change the solid of the material into a gas. The gas mixes with air, and you know from the fire triangle that's how a fire burns. So wind, how dry the vegetation is, and slope are the three factors that affect how fast a fire burns. And to mitigate, what someone can do then is to think about breaking up the vegetation, having vegetation that's more lush, moist, irrigated. Because in all reality, we can't do much about the weather. We're going to have windy days, we're going to have dry days, even just dry afternoons. We're going to have windy periods even with the fog coming in, and then if we get the north winds, it's even worse. And where you're at, where your house is at, where your road's at, where you may be at any time, you're going to have some variability of slope, and you're not going to be able to change your slope. So the three factors for the rates of spread were the wind, how dry the vegetation is, and the slope. Firefighters talk about it in three other terms, which are closely related: weather, topography, and fuels. So that's why the focus is on vegetation management, managing your vegetation, because we can't manage topography and we can't manage the weather. So managing vegetation around your house is called defensible space. We're asking you, and it's required by law, out to 100 feet or to your property line to manage your vegetation so there's not a continuity of the vegetation. The vegetation is lean, clean, and green, or irrigated, and that reduces the fire spread. So the goal of defensible space around your structure is to keep a fire on the surface of the earth and to break up that heat transfer from one shrub or one bush or from one tree to the other tree. So around your house, it's called defensible space. When we pick to do that same type of vegetation management, a shaded fuel break treatment along a road or a ridge top, those are strategic control lines that also help support evacuations or firefighters getting into an area to protect homes, protect lives. And it also provides us an advantageous location ahead of the fire that we know on top of this ridge or along this road we have a modified vegetation, modified fuel type, that the air tankers may be more effective. We can put firefighters there to stop the fire, and we can initiate stopping the edge of the fire. Firefighters prioritize life, property, then the environment. So we're always going to protect people first, asking you to evacuate. So anything you can do to get yourself out of harm's way by maybe evacuating before the fire, even before you're officially notified, maybe you're hearing about some bad weather or a fire weather watch or red flag warning, make plans to maybe to leave if you'd like to leave, or to be ready to go on a moment's notice and go even before you're asked to officially go. I sometimes get phone calls or get texts during a wildfire asking me, Marshall, do you think I should evacuate? And my answer is always going to be yes. If you think you need to evacuate, no matter how far you are from the fire, if you're taking the time to call me, I'm going to tell you yes. I'm not going to take a chance. So we have systems in Sonoma County to notify you through the County Department of Emergency Management to sign up and be notified. It's going to take some time. Worst case, it's the early stages of a wildfire. Maybe starts by your house, starts along the road to your house. It's going to take a while for the firefighters to notify law enforcement, to coordinate with the Department of Emergency Management to get the official notification out. And that also assumes you have a landline that can be called, a regular conventional phone at your house, you have cell phone coverage, all the infrastructure is in place to notify you. The reason I'm telling you this is you need to be prepared before you get an official evacuation order or warning. You need to make that decision on your own. Because I have a couple, I call them smart ass comments. And one of those smart ass comments I have is, when you need a firefighter or need a peace officer the most, we're probably not going to be there for you. We're going to be spread thin, and probably the other part of this smart ass comment is you're probably in that bad situation because we're not there helping you. Something's already gone bad, or multiple things have gone bad to the point that we're not there to help you. So you need to think about these situations now, have a conversation with your fire department, talk with law enforcement, prepare yourself. So that's all and above what you should be doing as far as getting a go bag ready, having your vehicle full of fuel or fully charged, making sure your garage door is open. We heard about some bad situations in 2017 about garage doors not opening when the power was out. Thinking about, if I only have one way out, maybe I live on a long road that's a dead end, what am I going to do if I don't know where my next safe spot is? Meaning, when I leave my house, I don't know if I can get to a next safe area. And so my answer for that is, and it goes back to defensible space around your structure, if I call it the freak out moment. If you're going to have a freak out moment where you're trapped by a fire, my opinion, from my experience, it's better to have that freak out moment in an area you know, which is your house. So if you take the time to do your defensible space, we also can talk about structural hardening, how to make your house less prone to igniting by how it's built. You make your house safe. You might be better off staying at your house. I'm not encouraging you to do this, but we got to think about worst case scenarios where you're not going to get maybe the word to evacuate, or your evacuation route is cut off, that you can stay at your house and be not safe, but in a better situation than being trapped on a road or driving in an area where the smoke is really thick. Think about thick fog. Even firefighters get lost in the smoke, and you can't get to a safe area. So we got to have these conversations. You got to think about, what happens if I can't evacuate? So stay at your house. Maybe stay in your house until to the point that your house is no longer safe. Then you need to think about going outside. I know this is a difficult conversation, but that's what you got to start thinking about. Contact your fire department, talk with law enforcement. We never want you in that situation, so that's why your go bag, signing up for the alerts are very important, and then ultimately making the decision to evacuate if you feel you need to evacuate well ahead. Give yourself as much time as possible. If you have animals, if you have someone elderly, someone wheelchair bound, that's going to add to some complexities. So that's why I'm asking you to think about this and maybe pre-evacuate or leave the area even before the fire happens based upon the weather, before you get the official word. So back to other efforts you can do to prepare your property. Remember, there's defensible space, managing vegetation around your house. Equally as important, and my thinking now is actually more important, is how your house is built. So that is making your house resistant to embers and heat. Those two factors, embers, heat. Embers, find the screens, find your open vents in your attic, find your open doors, find your open windows, find a crack in your exterior siding. They find a way to enter your building and find something they can ignite, whether that be insulation, whether that could be wood, anything that can ignite. So make your house ember proof, and that is your venting, your openings, your coverings, your garage door, any spot where in the fall or whenever it's windy, wherever leaves pile up, that's probably where the embers are going to pile up. So how your house is built to be ember resistant. And then it's how much heat can your exterior walls, how much heat can your windows sustain before they ignite or break. So defensible space takes the heat away from your house, but let's say you have a wood pile, let's say you have a car, maybe an outbuilding like a shed for storage, maybe a barbecue, that catches fire, and now 5 feet from your house, 20 feet from your house, there's a lot of heat. Think about distance from a campfire, but a lot of heat right next to your house for maybe 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes. And if your windows are not rated to withstand that heat, they're going to break, they're going to fail, and now heat embers are going to get inside your house and start your house on fire. Or if your exterior siding is maybe wood or shingles, it can only take so much heat before it ignites. And so those are things you need to think about, is ember resistant and heat resistant. Retrofitting your existing building, or if you're under new construction or building proposing to build a new building, you're going to have to adhere to this anyway, called the 7A standards, the building code 7A for California. But many of us, myself included, have an existing house that was not built to the most current fire resistant standards, and so we need to modify ember resistant, heat resistant, to make our house save itself or not rely upon firefighters being there, because in a windstorm, a wildfire storm, multiple fires at any time, a siege scenario where there's just too many fires burning, not enough firefighters, your house needs to be, as percentage wise, statistically, able to save itself than relying upon firefighters being there.